Stone, and you're on The War Room with Owen Schroyer and Roger Stone. In a stunning new interview, WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange essentially confirms exactly what I told the House Intelligence Committee only weeks ago, that I was confirming what he had already said numerous times in interviews and on Twitter, that WikiLeaks indeed had the goods on Hillary Clinton and would release them in October. Now, interestingly, in this interview, the reporter Amy Goodman questions the question of whether I am, in fact, a reporter. If they would simply tune in 5 days a week here at 5 Eastern at the War Room, they can see that we work very hard at bringing you the news after doing enormous investigative reporting. That, plus my weekly column at Stone Cold Truth, and everything I write for Infowars.com, where yesterday we had a groundbreaking piece on the corruption of Senator Bob Corker, means that, Amy, I'm more of a journalist than you are. Taking a cue from Alex Jones, I want to make this a two-way dialogue and want to answer your questions on any topic that suits your fancy. And therefore, we're throwing our phone lines open, and we're going to have a little assistance here from Owen, working as an interlocutor. Plus, you can ask Owen questions as well, but we are open for your questions.
Well, we're about to go to the phone lines with Roger Stone. If you have any questions for Roger, give us a call, 888-201-2244. Real quick, before we get to the lines, I want to mention that Trump has just announced that he is calling all of the generals to the War Room to discuss North Korea. So we'll keep our tabs on that as we move forward here in the War Room with Roger Stone. Roger, we're going to start with Max in Wisconsin. Max, go ahead.
Hi, before I get to my point here in Vegas, I wanted to ask Roger. I can't see him, so you'll have to tell me. Are you wearing a tie today, Roger?
I am, in fact, wearing a suit and tie today, a spread collar shirt and a nice tattersall and a nice black tie. Now,
do you know?
I pale in comparison to Owen Schroyer, who is, seems to be wearing kind of a nice yellow tie with a jaunty tie bar. Go ahead.
Do you know the origin of the necktie?
Well, I know this. This particular black silk necktie is very, very useful. Let's say you're running through an airport. Let's say your suitcase breaks open and you hurry to make your flight. Well, you could bind your suitcase closed with this, no problem at all. In fact, I think you could probably tow a car with it, but if you have a scientific or, pardon me, a historical reference, we'd be glad to hear it.
Wait, that's not a Russian tie, right? That's not a Russian tie? Because the Democrats are still looking for a Russian tie.
Comrade. I mean, friend.
All right, Max, what else you got?
Well, the tie thing, historically, neckties were used as military ranking from France, picked up from the French word for Croatian. That's how you get the French word cravat. But anyway, I want to talk more about Vegas. Sorry, I don't want to always be serious. A couple things here. It seems to me that Paddock was a victim of mind control tactics described in Operation Midnight Climax. Leverage, prostitutes, drugs, money, and either setting them up or programming Paddock to commit this horrid act. Have you guys heard of Operation Midnight Climax?
This would be news to me. Fill us in.
Okay, basically it's a declassified, you can look it up on Wikipedia back there, declassified CIA program linked up with MKUltra, where they would use a variety of methods to program people. Also, I was wondering if in one of the photos there, if that's PJ in the corner as the blue hose with green tape via carpet cleaning wand. And also, I want to know, why haven't we seen the second room yet? Must look pretty crazy up in there. It takes a lot longer to stage, you know.
Roger?
And lastly, why do the police and feds talk to us like South Park teachers? They are kind of becoming a threat to national security.
You noticed that too. Look, I still don't think we're getting the straight and complete story out of Las Vegas. All that's happening here is the mainstream media is further damaging their credibility with the limited information that they are telling us. We still haven't gotten to a number of the questions that first surfaced here at InfoWars. Why is there a room service bill with 2 people being served? Why does the media tell us that the shooter checked in on the 28th when the paperwork clearly shows that he checked in on the 27th? And then there is the question of motive. Now, we do know that the shooter was seen at 2 anti-Trump rallies, and there is a credible report of him traveling to Saudi Arabia, perhaps for radicalization. We'd like to get to the bottom of these things, but we're not getting much cooperation from the mainstream media or the authorities. Now, this is very important. I do not mean in any way to denigrate the work of the hardworking men and women of either the Las Vegas Police Department or the FBI, for that matter. The rank and file in these agencies are patriotic, hardworking Americans just trying to do their job. They're open-minded, they're objective, and they're about public service. The politicization is at the top of these agencies, something we saw first under Barack Obama. Going back to something Owen said at the top, that the president is going to be pulling all of the generals. Well, all of the generals currently surrounding President Trump, in fact, all of the generals currently running the Pentagon, were elevated in rank by Barack Obama. I had a retired Air Force general approach me in Las Vegas only 2 weeks ago and tell me no soldier who was elevated by Obama can be trusted, that there are many fine men and women in the military, some retired, still on others still on active duty, who are not politicized, who were not rewarded or elevated by President Barack Obama, who can be called on for public service. We're going to release a list of these people in a couple weeks here, because I think the president needs help. And no, I do not trust a number of the neocon-oriented generals that he has gathered around him.
Thank you for the call. Now, I want to address something that the caller said that I'm thinking. He said that there was a hose in that picture, guys. Pull up that picture again. Pull up that picture again, that blue tube. He's basically raising a question of what is that? Okay, that's something I never thought about, so another weird angle. Let's take a call from Alex in Michigan. Go ahead, Alex. You're on with Roger Stone.
Hey, what's going on, Owen? Good to talk to you again, man. Good to talk to you, Roger, as well. I just wanted to comment on marijuana legalization and healthcare in general. I think it's getting to the point where the state wants to take you from birth and shoot you up with shots and vaccines, and they want to outlaw all, just natural herbs and extracts that have naturally healed people. And, like psychedelic mushrooms, for example, has scientific studies that came out that cures or helps fight the type of brain cancer John McCain's got, which is, I think, the most serious kind, if I remember right.
Yeah, and also some other psychological conditions as well, like anxiety.
Oh, yeah. So it's all just a joke. I think people just got to take back their healthcare freedom. We don't want, if you want to take their shots, that's fine, but...
Well, yeah, we all know you're exactly right with the vaccines. They keep increasing them, and as you continue to see diabetes increasing, obesity increasing, this is because of people's diets. We shouldn't have to pay for people because they choose to have a poor diet. And Roger, of course, is spearheading the movement for legalization of medical marijuana. We'll get his take on the other side. We got to go to a break. Thank you for the call, Alex. More of your calls and Roger Stone on the other side. This is The War Room.
Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone, and you're in the right place. You're at The War Room. Tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Alex Jones Show, I host Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, one of the hard-charging young conservatives in the House. Gaetz is going to talk to us about his efforts to move the Justice Department to prosecute the various crimes of the Clinton Foundation. We're also going to talk about a number of other topics with this young firebrand conservative, truly a leader marked for great things in the future. That's tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern on the Alex Jones Show. I think we have a call here from Texas. Is it Tom from Texas? Is that correct?
Todd.
Todd, I apologize. Todd, welcome to the War Room. What's your question for the day?
First off, Roger, it's the man, the myth, and the legend. And I've seen Get Me Roger Stone. Everybody has to see that movie.
That's very kind.
On another note, Owen, I would like to know where you get your pants made to get your cojones to fit in there with you, because you got the biggest balls of anybody I've ever seen on the street.
That was a compliment, I believe.
Yes, sir, it was. But on a serious note, I was wondering if y'all have seen this story going around. I've seen it on a few different websites. And it's about a man by the name of John Billman was supposedly raided by the FBI as a key witness to the shooting in Las Vegas. And it says the day after he was raided, he shot his special needs daughter in a murder-suicide and then shot himself in the back of the head with a 12-gauge shotgun, which is really what sticks out to me in the story. But he worked for a company who specialized in communications devices for top secret stuff for the military. And then when he retired from there, it seems that they think he might have been in cahoots with Paddock. I was wondering if y'all had seen any of this story.
I have not seen that story. Owen, are you aware of this narrative in the
yes, actually, thank you for the compliment, Todd. It's not the pleats, but I actually am aware. I am aware of this story. I tried to vet it. I tried to confirm it and simply could not do so. I found it way too difficult to be able to confirm and vet that story. Therefore, I'm not willing to go with that narrative. It was a bouncing ball that I simply could not follow. I had a couple other people try to follow it as well, and we all pretty much agreed that there's really no conclusion that we can reach because it's just an unvettable story. So I'm not sure if that's one that you want to stick a stake into as real news, but yes, I did see that story.
Right. Well, like I said, I've just seen it reported by several different sites, and I couldn't research it far enough, and I'm not really a tech guy, so I thought maybe y'all had either not seen it or, like I said, y'all, like you said, found the end of it.
Well, if that were the case, as we know, the FBI, you know, there's good actors and bad actors. That would, if that were the case, again, I couldn't vet this story. It would sound to me like a good actor from the FBI trying to actually get to the bottom of the FBI cover-up, and then bad actors from the FBI coming in to cover that up. But again, cannot vet that story. Thank you so much for the call, Todd. Let's now take another call here with Roger Stone in the War Room. Let's go to Patty in Long Island, New York. You're on the air with Roger.
Roger?
Patty.
Hello? Roger Stone?
Go ahead, Patty. Great to have you. Yes, indeed.
Well, it just seems kind of like a gun running.
I think we lost you.
Kind of. Hello?
Patty, we lost you for a second. Go ahead and restart your question for Roger.
I just wanted to just give an observation that it kind of looks like a gun running kind of situation that went bad.
Well, that would be pretty much a seriously bad. Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Patty, you wouldn't be the first person, of course, who has objectively made that observation. Going back to Todd's call previously and this one, I think what's healthy here is that we no longer have a situation in which the sheeple take at face value everything as little as it is that the government has told us, and that every single tip, every single shard of information that may or may not be may or may not be useful is being run down by citizen journalists anxious to get to the truth. We don't have a preordained agenda. We don't have the results before the investigation. We're interested in knowing what did and did not happen. If, in fact, this gentleman, Stephen Paddock, is a man of the left, well, we haven't seen much of that in the mainstream media. It's interesting because when Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly killed John Kennedy, we were told almost immediately, oh, he's a disgruntled communist. that despite the fact that in New Orleans he had been caught handing out anti-communist literature, indicating that he's some kind of double agent or intelligence agency asset. In this case, there seems to be growing substantial evidence that Paddock was a man of the left, was a Trump hater, and that, of course, would impart some motive beyond, of course, an excuse for gun grabbing and gun control. Never let a good tragedy go to waste. That's the motto of the anti-gun lobby. They still, to this day, cannot refute the argument that if they were to confiscate guns from the law-abiding citizens of this country, it would have zero impact on terrorists or criminals or organized crime obtaining and using guns. They still can't come up with an answer for that. And therefore, one must assume that the reason they want to disarm us is that so we will be docile when they take our last fleeting civil liberties away from us. You are on the War Room with Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer, and now would be a very good time for you to go to the Infowars.com store, where my #1 favorite product, Brain Force, is available at a deep discount. I believe it's 50% off. Now, this product, for me, gives me kind of mental focus, mental clarity, mental energy when I'm getting ready for a broadcast or a speech like the one I'm giving at Fordham University tonight for the College Republican Club. And this price is a terrific price. I've used a lot of products from the Infowars.com store, but this is one that I have enormous experience and confidence in. I never, ever travel without it. And at this price, they're going to sell out. This is an extraordinarily good deal. And as Alex Jones has said many, many times, this is a win-win. You not only get the very best all-natural products, books, T-shirts, and other products, but you help us finance this enormous expansion that Alex Jones is working on. New programming, new faces, new commentators, new reach. So please, folks, go to the Infowars.com store. Help us help you. Help us help the revolution. Help us protect the First Amendment and a vibrant, robust alternative media where we at Infowars are the tip of the spear. We'll be right back for more of your questions. I'm Roger Stone, and you're on the War Room. Joining me now is Carter Stone Davis, a future president of the United States and a young info warrior. As Alex Jones has said many times, this is why we do this. This is about the future of our country, our children, our grandchildren, our families, and whether they're going to live under tyranny or under future. So I thought we'd bring Carter Stone Davis on today for a cameo. He will be president of the United States 3010 if I live long enough. In any event, let's go back to our callers. And he agrees, as you can see. Let's go to our next call if we can.
Let's go to John in Wisconsin. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I got something on that picture for both of you. I was trying to get through yesterday, but I got on too late and you missed me. So what, you know, that pillar where the ammo is stacked up to the left-hand side of it?
Yep.
Are you sure the window that is shot out of is on the right side of the pillar or the left?
According to the official breakdown and the images, yeah, I can say with confidence, yes.
Well, you know, and another thing, sparseness of the spent casings is amazing because I think the reason why they're hard to see is that he might have got a few cases of Wolf Brothers brand ammo, which comes from Romania and Russia, that they're steel cases and they're painted. That's why you couldn't see them all. There was one brass one that was in the middle of the pool of blood above the deceased head, though, that somebody commented on it. Looked like it was placed there, but I think it just went around around the round. Not only that, where's all the debris in the hallway from 200 rounds being shot through the door? I don't get that either.
There's also the question of how the shooter got this arsenal through the lobby of the Mandalay Bay Hotel undetected, not to mention the photographic equipment. Given the heavy firepower and in all of the ammunition required, one wonders how you could do that without Confederates, how you could do it acting alone. Again, another key point in the illogic that we're being told out of Las Vegas. I do sense a sea change this time as I talk to mainstream media journalists, and I talk to quite a few on a regular basis. Even they have great skepticism that we have a complete puzzle as to what has happened in Las Vegas. And frankly, I think those who are keenly interested in this story are best off to stay tuned to Infowars.com, because we have been the cutting edge on this story. We will continue to be, as citizen journalists bring us tips and new information that we analyze, try to either dispel or incorporate in this growing mosaic that is the truth about what happened in Las Vegas. Thanks for your call. Let's go to the next one, Owen.
Mark in New Jersey. You're on the air with Roger Stone. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, to the point. Okay, listen, is there still animosity between Gary Cohn and President Trump?
Well, Gary Cohn's very appointment is illogical. Why would a conservative Republican president who runs on the issue of tax reduction and growth economics appoint the liberal Democratic chairman of Goldman Sachs as his chief economic advisor? You'll recall that in the campaign, President Trump criticized Goldman Sachs, first secret $1 million plus loan to bail out the campaign of Senator Ted Cruz, and then for their $675,000 payment to Hillary Clinton for a speech, the contents of which she sought to keep from us. So his appointment is illogical. Now, Mr. Cohn is specifically charged with the effort to restore Glass-Steagall, the banking regulations which were torn down under Bill Clinton and which led to one of the greatest recessions in American history. So, Mr. Cohn, how is that effort going, and why don't you get to it? It is Gary Cohn, quite candidly, who's been the chief architect of the effort to get the president to climb on board the climate change hoax, the global warming hoax. It was Cohn who told the New York Post that the president was traveling to Paris to, quote, get smart, and that his views were evolving. Well, his views haven't evolved because his views are correct. It's the same views that he had in the campaign for president of the United States and the same views he's held as president of the United States. I say, let Trump be Trump.
All right. Thank you for the call, Mark. Let's take another call. This one from Catherine is calling in from Canada. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi there. I just want to know you guys' thoughts on the remarks that Trump had to CNN 2 days ago about Weinstein, saying he knew him for a long time and he's not surprised. And I think that's very telling. I think they just want to know you guys' thoughts on that one.
Well, as you know, during the campaign, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a comment on the Vegas thing, but that's my question about Harvey Weinstein and Trump saying he's not surprised.
Well, evidently, Weinstein's activities were an open secret in liberal Hollywood. Evidently, many journalists and those in the entertainment business knew about them. There's growing evidence that the New York Times knew about this story far, far earlier than they're printing it. That said, they have to be given credit for breaking a major story that exposes liberal hypocrisy. There were, during the campaign, as you know, charges of the president sexually harassing and assaulting women. We examined those very thoroughly. They were a falsehood, a myth. a fairy tale, a canard. The women who came forward, in many cases, were paid to do so. They couldn't vaguely remember when it was or where it was that they were assaulted by Donald Trump. They only know that it happened. This entire thing collapsed. I believe it was constructed because the Democrats knew that Bill Clinton had enormous exposure in this area. And of course, Hillary had played a role in intimidating and threatening and bullying Bill's victims. Again, like the Russia narrative, what better way to distract attention from the activities of the Clintons than to project what they have done onto Trump? Trump is innocent of these charges. They were bogus then, they're bogus now. It turns out that Harvey Weinstein's the real deal when it comes to sexual harassment, and I suspect we're going to hear many, many, many more stories. I wonder how many more liberal Democrats will scurry to return his money. Let me also say again, if you didn't hear it earlier, I will be speaking tonight at Fordham University in the Bronx in the Keating building at 7 p.m. Now, some campus radicals say I shouldn't be allowed to speak. Those great believers in free speech and the First Amendment, they can't argue with you on the basis of issues or rationale. So they want to shout you down or silence you. If you believe in free speech, and if you want to hear what I have to say, tonight, 7 o'clock in Keating Hall at Fordham University in the Bronx, a very fine institution sponsored by the College Republican Club. Be there. I will be there for sure. In the meantime, please, folks, go to the Infowars.com site and give us the help we need to pay for this major expansion that Alex Jones is putting together. Brainforce, my #1 favorite product, 50% off. You're not going to see a sale like this again, folks, so quickly, go to the site now. Help us, help yourself, help the fight for freedom. Roger Stone, Owen Schroyer, here at the War Room. Welcome back to our last segment here on the War Room. The War Room represents the new expansion here at Infowars.com, just the beginning of great things to come. I join the program every day at 5 Eastern, by and large, trying to do more and more of a two-way dialogue, taking your calls, which we've done here today. Owen, who have we got online in the queue for calls? If anyone would be happy to take all comers.
Phone lines are 888-201-2244, 888-201-2244. One more segment with Roger Stone. Let's go to Anthony in Indiana. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, gentlemen. Mr. Stone, what advice do you have for new political consultants and strategists? Specifically, are you doing your own analytics from public resources, or are there private demographic databases you could make reference to?
Well, I rely on a demographic strategist named Bill Wilson, who operates out of the Washington suburbs. He's a sole practitioner, and I think he's absolutely brilliant. The president, as you know, relied on a firm called Cambridge Analytics, which has a fine reputation. We have gotten to the point where we no longer guess about politics, that everything we do is based on sophisticated polling and targeting, testing ideas out, not testing your principles out, but testing out the best way to present them to the voters for maximum impact. I'm not looking for what the candidate should say so much as how the candidate, he or she, should say it. That said, one would be foolish to go into a race for Congress or a race for the U.S. Senate, or for that matter, a race for the city council without sophisticated analytics and analytical targeting. Excellent question. You know, people ask me, particularly young people, how do I get into politics? How do I do what you do? Well, the short answer is start by volunteering. You're not really ready to elect a candidate for president of the United States until you've worked in a local city council campaign, or county commission campaign or county legislative campaign. Politics, as I think it was the late Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local, and that's the truth. People react the same way on state issues and federal issues. People are people with the same thoughts, fears, hopes, desires, prejudices, and understanding the voters and how to present things to them, and understanding the importance of repetition within the context of the campaign. I remember when John Kerry ran against Governor George W. Bush. And many in the mainstream media criticized Governor Bush because everywhere he went, he seemed to pretty much give the same speech, hit the same themes. Folks, that's why he won. You see, John Kerry had the misguided idea that once he said something one time, everybody was listening, they got it, and that he could now move on to the next topic. That's wrong. Repetition is the whole point of advertising. It's the whole point of mass communications. And yes, it is also the point of politics. Thank you for an excellent question. Next call. What do we got on tap here, Owen?
We got Chris in Tennessee. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, guys. How you doing this afternoon?
Good.
Great.
Okay. I'm about to tell you something that was told to me. I'll say I work at Fort Campbell, and I talked to an intel officer that I know about this whole Vegas thing. And I'll tell you what he told me. I can't prove it either one way or the other, but I was told the reason things don't add up and the reason we have so many questions is it went exactly as planned, and it was made to do all this. He said, think JFK. He said, you know, it could be a million different things. It was made to look like that, but what he's heard, well, he said he may or may have not heard it, which because he's not actually allowed to tell me things. But
well, let me just be clear. What are you insinuating that this was an FBI cover-up operation? What exactly are you insinuating here, or was your source insinuating?
See, that's what I'm saying. I've watched everything about it. I watched you guys. I've watched Alex since 2007, but It goes higher than that. It was made to look like it might be an FBI gun running sting gone bad and stuff like that, but he told me it was a CIA black team, most likely, that did it, and it was for more gun control ahead of the Civil War. But they planted the ISIS propaganda, the Antifa propaganda. They made all these rabbit trails for us to go down, and he said it worked exactly as planned. But that's what I was told, so I was just going to tell you guys.
Well, that wouldn't shock me. Roger, your thoughts?
I'm hopeful that we will ever know what really happened here. A complicated situation, tragic, just heartbreaking loss of life. I look at some of these videos and some of the photographs, and you cannot help but be affected by the idea of people taking, excited, going to a concert, leisure time with the family, with your friends, there to rock, and some lunatic with a motive that I believe in the end we will learn to be political opens fire. I am hopeful that the army of citizen journalists out there will keep picking away at the threads, keep picking away at the disinformation or the lack of information or the partial information that we're being given. And again, our thoughts, our hearts really go out for those who were injured or killed and their families. I cannot imagine anything more horrific than losing a child. As someone with 5 grandchildren and 2 children of my own, it's a heartbreaker. It's just a heartbreaker.
And this is why we take calls, folks, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from people that have experience, people that were boots on the ground. And if you have any sort of top intel, as our caller Chris was saying that he was privy to, perhaps, obviously, we can't vet that. But again, we know the CIA and the FBI has done stuff like this in the past. And I agree with Roger. Whatever the motive ends up being, I'm sure that it was politically charged, whatever it ends up being, whatever direction the wind blows. Let's go to Brock in California. Go ahead, Brock.
Hey, guys. I just had to make a comment on definitely the commercial first. This so funny. Oh my God. Oh, funny. And the product is perfect. Love all the products. And the other thing is that Facebook thing with Mark Zuckerberg, did that just happen? Because that is ridiculous and so funny. And what in that? What?
Yeah, the other day he tweeted how he likes to walk with his legs straight like a robot. I mean, didn't this guy steal the idea of Facebook, Roger? I mean, I don't know if you saw the video. Mark Zuckerberg.
There's a great deal of evidence that he did, in fact, steal the entire question or the entire idea for Facebook. But don't look now, Owen. I think you may be looking at the Democratic presidential nominee for little more than 3 years hence. Now, whether the American people are prepared to elect a man who seems to own nothing but a hoodie and a T-shirt remains to be seen. I mean, I do think our president needs to have a certain gravitas.
Hey, that's an expensive T-shirt, Roger. That's like a $300 white tee he wears.
That may be the case, but look, I still think we expect our president, he or she, to look like a president, to dress like a president, to comport themselves like a president. Donald Trump certainly does, never inappropriately dressed. In fact, I think he was probably born in a suit. But Zuckerberg's clothing, no, in all honesty, the big thumbs down. He definitely makes Mr. Stone's international worst dressed list up there with such greats as my friend Jesse Ventura and so many others that are memorialized on that list.
Yeah, you got to go with Chunk Yogurt from Young Turds, and also Rachel Madcow is always on there. Thank you for the call. Roger, we got 30 seconds left. You're parting ways with the audience. What do you want to leave us with?
I went to the mailbox today and I got an invoice from my lawyer, another $87,000 added to my legal expenses fighting the witch of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. If you want to help me, go to stonedefensefund.com, set up by my friends. My legal expense is now just under $500,000 over a witch hunt in which there's still not an iota of evidence that anyone around Donald Trump colluded, conspired, or coordinated with the Russians.